Like I indicated earlier, Ghana is now officially the sixth largest gold producer in the world and the leading producer in Africa. But while this is a major milestone on the global stage, the question we want to explore today is what does it really mean for ordinary Ghanaians? And of course, Ghana has a potential to drive economic growth, create jobs, and generate government revenue. But are these benefits reaching our communities and improving living standards? And we'll dig deep into the economic significance of Ghana's gold ranking, the challenges in translating gold wealth into sustainable development, and of course, opportunities that lie ahead for citizens and policymakers alike. And joining me in this conversation is Nelson Cudjoe Kuagbedzi. He is the head of finance at Merban Capital Limited, and he's going to help us understand the numbers, the impact, and also the policy shaping Ghana's gold story. And so let's get into that conversation now. Nelson, good morning.
Yeah, good morning, my brother, and thanks for having me once again.
Well, thanks so much for making time to join us again here on the Business Breakfast on Z. Well, so let's get into the conversation. Now, Ghana is the sixth largest gold producer in the world, and Africa's leading producer. How does this ranking really reflect our position in the global mining landscape?
Well, thank you once again. Don't forget that Ghana is actually called the Gold Coast, which means that the quantum of gold deposit in this country is so large that we haven't over the years taken advantage of our name to exploit, produce and sell the quantum that we actually needed. And so to the extent that we have been ranked the sixth largest in the world and first in Africa, I think it's a very big deal because that will open the door for foreign direct investment directly in the mining sector. And so the position actually reflects what God has blessed us with, and our policy, makers have to take advantage of it to, as it were, try to loosen the laws regarding the mining, sector, losing not in a negative way, but in a way to attract foreign direct investment into the mining sector of our economy.
I see. Now, of course, this is actually good news. I mean, I've seen a lot of people try to celebrate that. But I want to know, how has Ghana's gold output changed over the past decade? And maybe what factors have driven this particular growth that we are seeing now?
Well, you realize that the mining sector is actually championed by two segments of operators. Or let me say even three segments. We have the large-scale miners. So you take Newmont, you take Anglo Gold Ashanti. They are the big boys or the captains in that sector. Then we have the small-scale miners who have been licensed to, embark on small-scale mining. And also we have the third one, which is illegal, which is the galamsey that we've all been talking about. Now, over the years, the mining sector has been the mainstay of Ghana's economy, contributing significantly towards our, international influence. However, government participation interest in the sector has been very low. And one of the challenges that we have faced over the years regarding the mining sector has been the illegal exportation of gold. And so you go to the international gold market, the data shows that Ghana exports, say, about 138 tons of gold. However, what the government actually have in their data is about 10 or 15. So that has actually shaped the mining sector over the years, where what we actually produce in the country and what we actually record as direct sales is far below what we have actually produced. And so it's been on and off regarding production, sales, and what we receive actually into the country.
So would you say the introduction of Gold Board is actually one of the things that is making us now see the numbers we are recording?
Yes. I think the Gold Board initiative is actually one of the brilliant ideas that we have seen in recent past. The operations of the Gold Board has actually helped in one way to sanitize the small-scale, gold exports. Because when you check the record, as at the end of October 2025, the total value that we have exported from the Gold Board is about $8 billion. And so if you have this $8 billion in terms of value in just 8 months, as compared to the previous years, you realize that the Gold Board initiative is actually helping to clean and sanitize the illegal exportation, most especially from the small-scale miners. So the Gold Board, yes, has actually contributed to, the good news that we are witnessing, this time around.
I see. You talked about contributions. Can you explain how gold production contributes to our GDP and maybe foreign exchange reserves?
All right. So it comes in various forms. Number one, governments participate in gold production in this country. When I say gold production, government has equity interest in some of the gold, mining companies. That is the first one. So we get equity interest in terms of, the revenue. And then also the mining companies, they also pay taxes. They pay VAT to the government. They pay PAY to the government. They pay corporate income tax to the government. They pay royalties to the government. They pay all sorts of taxes to the government, and that comes directly in form of, domestic or even normally they pay in Ghana cedis to the government through the GRA. Then also, anytime we export our gold, the receipt that we get also helps in shoring up our gross international reserve. And so these are some of the benefits that we have, gotten from gold production in this country. But the good thing is that anytime volumes of gold production goes up and the price of gold also goes up, what it means is that our international reserve also goes up. In fact, gold is one of the precious minerals that are resistant to geopolitical tensions. And so even if there is a war happening in any country, you don't expect gold prices to fall that much because everybody needs gold, even in times of war. And so, to the extent that gold is resistant to geopolitical tension, it has contributed significantly over the years in terms of receipts that we have both domestically and also externally.
I see. Now, when we talk about gold driving the economy, which is something you just spoke about, what does that really mean for the average Ghanaian on the street?
Well, it means stable economy. Okay. It means stable currency, because gold play a major role in stabilizing the local currency. To the extent that we sell gold and we bring in forex reserve, it helps to strengthen, the local currency, and that is what happened this year. In fact, this year, when you check the records, prices of gold have shot up significantly. I think currently an ounce of gold is trading above $4,000.
Yeah.
But beginning of the year, it was around $2,900, $3,000, dollars. So if you look at the jump, that is significant. And so once you are exporting the needed volume and you are raking in the needed effects, it helps to show up your reserve. But let me also quickly add that when we talk about reserve, we are not only talking about foreign currency. Reserve comes in various forms. In fact, you often hear that Bank of Ghana has accumulated this quantum of gold in their reserve. Now, a reserve of a country is made up of gold or any precious mineral. It's also made up of FX, that is the foreign currency. Then it's also made up of the special drawing rights of the International Monetary Fund. Then it's also made up of remittances that we receive from our brothers, our sisters, our parents abroad, and also any other source that gives us a foreign exchange or of FX that constitutes a reserve. And to the extent that Bank of Ghana is accumulating so much gold in terms of reserve, what it means is that it will help to strengthen the local currency, the Ghana cedi.
I see. So that's very important. Now, still on the economic impact. Now, beyond GDP, you talked about that a while ago. Beyond GDP, in what ways does gold mining actually contribute to the broader economy, maybe such as industrial growth and or maybe trade balance?
Well, don't forget that gold proceeds also hit the consolidated fund. Government needs money to develop this country in terms of infrastructure. Government needs to pay salaries and also incur other expenditures. And so to the extent that we sell the gold and it comes in as a revenue to the government uses that money to develop the country in terms of building schools, hospitals, and roads and all that. What the challenge we have had in the past has to do with the monitoring of the gold revenue or the mining sector revenue. If you recall, in the petroleum sector, we have what we call Petroleum Revenue Management Act. That tells us exactly how the petroleum revenue, should be distributed.
Yeah.
But in the mining sector, I don't think we have any legislation, a primary legislation that actually tells us how we are supposed to, use our revenue from the mining sector. So I think going forward, what we need to do is to also mimic the Petroleum Revenue Management Act for the mineral sector. So we can also have the Minerals Income Revenue Management Act that tells the government how to use the minerals income that we receive. When it happens that way, then even citizens can clearly monitor, how the revenue is being used. Secondly, when you go to the petroleum sector, we have what we call the Public Interest and Accountability, Forum, the PIAC. You know of the PIAC. The PIAC normally issues an annual report on how the petroleum revenue of this country is used. And in that regard, we can also have a body and a constitutional body that can also tell us how the minerals income is also being used. Even though we have the Minerals Income Investment Fund, their mandate is simply the management of the minerals income and investment of minerals income. But we need an authority that can actually, tell us how the minerals income is being used, just as it happens within the petroleum sector.
I'm going to return to you on the investments and how the revenue is managed. But let me just announce our phone lines just in case anybody wants to join the conversation. Well, it's exactly 10 minutes after 9, and this is Business Breakfast on Z101.9 FM. This one we're talking about our ranking as a country. Now, Ghana, we are told, is officially the 6th largest gold producer in the world and the leading producer in Africa. And that's exactly what we're talking about this morning. We're trying to get to understand its economic significance and also the impact of that really. And my guest is Nelson Cudjoe Kuagbedzi. He is Head of Finance at Merban Capital Limited, and he's helping us have this conversation this morning. If you want to join the conversation, please feel free to send us a WhatsApp on 0544321019, 0544321019, and then I read your messages for you. You can as well call me on 03039 56641, 03039 and then I give you the opportunity to share your thoughts this morning. We're on Facebook. We're streaming live on Facebook now at ZFMGH and also on YouTube at Z Multimedia. Please drop a comment on any of our posts, and then I give you the opportunity. I'll read your messages for you. Now, like I said, I'm going to come back to you on the how the money is managed and all of that. But I want to know how much of our national revenue comes from gold royalties, taxes, and also mining-related fees. If you have
all
the
right,
figures.
that I may have to research and get you an exact figure. However, if you look at our annual budget as presented, every year, the chunk of our tax revenue comes from the mining sector, and it comes in various forms of various tax handles. And there is this mining company, I think AngloGold Ashanti, or one of them, who has been publishing their tax payments in the dailies. You realize that as of last year, they paid, as of third quarter of last year, they paid over 1 billion Ghana cedis in terms of tax revenue. And so globally, we can say that about 40 to 45% of our annual tax, income actually comes from the mining sector.
I see. Now, when we're talking a while ago, you talked about let's talk about the FDI. Now, to what extent does gold mining attract foreign direct investment into Ghana?
Well, the mining sector is a strategic sector in every country. The mining sector and the petroleum sector are what we call strategic or priority sectors in every country. And so once you have a gold or any precious mineral, it means that a lot of foreign investors may be interested in that sector. Now, when you check the records from the Minerals Commission, you realize that every year and then we
Mm.
have a lot of investors who come to Ghana to express interest in the mining sector.
Yeah.
And also, don't forget that the mining sector is one of the largest employer of people within an economy. And so you take a mining company, for instance, from, I mean, the engineers to administrative staff. I mean, the quantum of people that they employ is so high. And so it's a very strategic sector in every country that they want to take advantage of, one, in terms of job creation, two, in terms of tax revenue, and three, in terms of the general growth of the economy. Because you cannot have the minerals underground and think that you can develop your country. The challenge we have had over the years has to do with what we call responsible mining. I mean, mining contributes significantly to every country's economy. And so over the years, we've enjoyed the benefits, but there are some few challenges today that we have to deal with.
Mm. Okay, I'm going to come to you on the challenges as well, but you also talked about jobs, which is a very important aspect of all this conversation we're having this morning, and I'm going to come to you on that one as well. There's so much to unpack this morning, but would you say that this gold boom, we're talking about sixth in Africa, sixth in the whole world and number one in Africa, would you say that this gold boom has actually put some money in the system, or is it just numbers on paper?
Of course, yes. I mean, if you check the data from a gold board, you, as I did indicate, about $8 billion was raked in as at the end of October. And in fact, that is one of the reasons why we have enjoyed relative stability of the Ghanaian cedi, because we have enough FX. You also realize that from time to time, Bank of Ghana do intervene in the market by releasing enough foreign currency into the system. How do we get this foreign currency? It's as a result of the exportation of the gold. $8 billion, that is a lot. And so, yes, you can say the exportation has actually put money or effort within the system.
But are there risks associated with our dependence, our economic dependence on gold? And how can we mitigate them?
Yes, the risk factors are always there. In fact, the price of gold is determined in the international market. We don't fix the price of gold. And so anytime the price of gold, reduces a bit, it affects the quantity and the value that we will rake it. And so dependent on the raw exportation of gold itself, it's problematic because there are volatilities that are inherent in the price. As and when the price reduces a little, it affects the value that we rake it. And so going forward, what I think we should do is to add more value to the gold that we mine in this country. In fact, recently I read in the news that the Gold Board has established a subsidiary called the Gold Board Jewelry, which will be responsible for sort of adding value to whatever we get in form of. But I think that is a brilliant idea. In fact, the whole idea of the Gold Board, I think, is very innovative, and I think is the best way to go. And so value addition, not only to gold, but any other raw material we produce in this country is the best way to go, because exportation of raw materials is I will call it a colonial economic model, where we have gotten our independence politically, but economically, I mean, we are being controlled. No foreign country, European country or an American country developed based on exportation of raw materials. We have to learn from that success and also start adding value to our raw materials before exporting. And that is how we make it strategic. That is how we make it sustainable. Because once you continue exporting the gold and the price reduces, you are going to be affected.
But from where you stand, I mean, as a finance person, what loopholes or challenges still make it hard for us to fully capture the value, or maybe add value to our export? Because I read in the news from one of your economists, I'm sure you know him, Professor Bokping. He spoke some time back, and he says that, I mean, just last month, and he was talking about the fact that our raw gold only brings about 1 to 5% profit. And he was urging value addition. What loopholes do you think exist that makes it difficult for us to do this value addition you are also advocating for?
Well, I think one of the loopholes that we need to fill has to do with the illegal exportation of gold. We have a lot of foreigners in this country who deals in gold illegally. And you see, once they are taking out the gold, what it means is that they are also taking out the development of this country. So I think that government needs to seal the loopholes as far as illegal exportation is concerned. Then also, policy decision is key because if you want to add value to your raw material, it has to be done at the governmental level. We have seen that most of the companies in Ghana that are adding value to whatever product that they are doing, they are foreign owned. I think the government has to come up with a clear-cut policy that has to do with industrialization and value addition. In fact, when you look at the Ministry of Industry, initially we used to call them Ministry of Trade and Industry.
Yeah.
However, this time I think agribusiness has been added. And so the discussion must not only be reduced to the gold and then the other precious minerals, but in general, all the raw materials that we export out of this country, we try as much as possible to add value to them. In fact, we have practiced this model of economic development for so long a time, and we haven't gotten the needed development that we want. You get it?
Yeah.
And so the time has come for us to sit back, look at where we're coming from, where we are now, and where we want to go. And if we really want to move forward, then we have to relook at our export strategy by bringing out policies that are tailored towards the value addition of raw materials. And I think that is where the 24-hour economic plus comes in, because one of the pillars under the policy has to do with the industrialization through value addition. And so we need more of that in this country in order to develop the country and then the economy at large.
Can you paint a picture of what kind of impact we're going to see if we added more value locally? Maybe specifically on jobs and the economy overall.
So the truth of the matter is that when you export a finished product, let's say 1 unit of a finished product, you see, the challenge that we have also had in the past has to do with the importation of finished products. And the problem is that when you are going to import, you need more of foreign currency to do the importation. And when you import 1 unit of a finished product from one country, what it means is that you are creating employment equivalent to 1 cedi or $1 in that country, and you are creating unemployment equivalent to that 1 cedi or $1 in your domestic economy. And so, if you are able to add more value, we are going to create more jobs, not only jobs, but industrial jobs that are decent, that are quality, and that are paying. And one of the challenges that we have had in the country has to do with low-paying jobs. You see, because the industrial sector has not developed. Reason why anytime they release the GDP growth rate, you realize that the industrial sector is always lagging behind. Okay. And so once we are able to add more value to whatever we produce, 1, we are going to create more jobs in this country. 2, we are going to earn more revenue in terms of tax revenue for the government. And 3, we are going to make our products very competitive in the international markets.
So we're going to see a lot of opportunities in there. But more specifically on small and medium-sized enterprises, how could value addition create opportunities there as well?
Well, as I said, the word is going to make Ghanaian products competitive. When you go to any shopping center in town, how many Ghanaian products do you see on their shelves? Most of the finished products are coming from outside. And so for medium and small scale enterprises, what it means is that once they are adding value to whatever they are doing, they are going to earn the needed forex that they will have to use to expand their operation, and that their market will also not be limited to only the Ghanaian economy. It will be limited to wherever country they are, sending their product to. Imagine we are exporting our local rice to Benin, Togo, Nigeria, and all those countries. They will pay in foreign currency, and that will be good for whichever small and medium-scale enterprise engage in that rice production. In fact, value addition has always been the best way to go. We have exported raw materials for so long a time, and I think the time has come for us to relook at what we do.
Again, what problems or what challenges do we face in building a strong gold refining industry?
Well, Uh, to build a strong gold refinery, I mean, you need expertise, you need power. Thankfully, for some time now, we have enjoyed some relative stability of the power sector. We also need regulations because anytime this sort of companies comes on board, we see a lot of infiltration here and there. And so we need regulations that can, strengthen and sanitize whatever sector that we intend to do. For instance, if you look at the gold sector, that we are establishing the gold board jewelry, I think we need a strong regulation in order to make sure that people don't take advantage of that sector in order to infiltrate the sector.
So what kind of specific regulations would you call for?
Well, I mean, minimum capital requirements to be there. If you want to engage in any the gold sector, you need to be given a minimum capital to meet before. I mean, you can operate in that sector. Two, I mean, even in terms of your machines and infrastructure, they should be the state of the art machines before you can be given license to operate in that sector. Anything that the government needs to do to sanitize the sector and make sure we don't have fake products within the system, that is what they need to do. So I think regulation is key, licensing is key, and even the personnel that will be working in that sector, they should be people who are highly qualified, who have the necessary capacity to engage in that particular sector.
Okay, let me come back to the issue of jobs, and I think it's a very important one. And you have said that it's very, it's very significant. I mean, the gold mining is a source of employment for ordinary Ghanaians. Are the jobs that are created mostly in large mining companies, or is there also the informal sector participation?
Well, if you look at the value chain of the mining companies, it's a very long value chain. They deal in supply. So there are companies that are licensed to supply, whatever the mining companies need. So to that extent, I mean, medium and small scale enterprises also play key role in that sector. But when you look at the value chain, you realize that at the end of its cycle, there are people who are needed right from the security men up to the top. Even the small and medium scale enterprise, when you go to the mining communities, Galamsey is doing very well because most people are jobless and they need to feed their families. And if you look at it from a larger scale, you realize that the mining sector is one of the largest producer in terms of jobs. And so that is why when we mention mining, I've always been saying that we should be very careful because there are people who are doing genuine and legit mining operation in Ghana. There are people who are also not doing genuine and legit operations, especially those who are mining on water bodies and forest reserves. But to the extent that the sector is one of the largest employer of Ghanaians, I think that the government should make sure that those who are operating illegally are taken out of the system so that we can know effectively those who are licensed to operate and the quantum of jobs that they are operating. I have a lot of friends who are working with mining companies, and so it's one of the largest producer, largest employer of Ghanaians within that sector. The only thing that we don't have in the mining sector, I don't think, is the local content. You recall that when we were drafting the petroleum operation in Ghana, later there was the local content that was also brought on board to give maximum participation to Ghanaians within the petroleum industry. I think we need to do that for the mining sector too.
I see. Now, this is a very important question that I want you to share your thoughts on that. Now, there are people that have argued that the reason why Galamsey continues to be a thing, be part of us, is because the people in the mining areas are not really seeing the development. Do you share in that particular school of thought?
Well, I think the issue of Galamsey is not really about development in those areas, but it's about livelihood. Development in mining communities is a shared responsibility between the mining companies and the government. Reason why most of the mining companies, they embark on the corporate social responsibility by building clinics, by building schools, and even doing some of the roads. Well, those are genuine concerns that they may raise that they are not seeing development. However, I think that the issue of Galamsey has to do more with livelihood. The reason why I've also been saying that there should be an alternative livelihood program for people who are in mining communities.
But haven't we in the past created those kind of opportunities, or do you think that they haven't worked?
Yes, we have created those opportunities in mining areas, but they haven't yielded the much needed result. I mean, imagine somebody who is engaged in mining or illegal mining who earns, let's say, 2,000 cedis in 3 or 4 days, and you are asking that person to stop that and do some other alternative economic, activity. I think we have to relook at the models that we implement in those areas in order to make sure that whatever they are losing out from the mining, they are getting it from the alternative livelihood programs. Reason why this Akukon Kitty program, I think it should be tailored more in mining community, because this is something that is sustainable, so that they can stop the illegal mining and concentrate more on the poultry farming. I remember at a time there was also a training of these guys in illegal mining communities and fish farming. So these are some of the areas government has to look at in order to give alternative livelihood to them. So I think the issue is twofold. One has to do with development, as they are saying, and the other has to do with economic livelihood for the people in mining communities.
But the monies that they are getting from engaging in this illegal mining is way, way above what the alternative livelihoods are going to give them.
Sure, that has been the problem. That has been the problem. But the alternative livelihood could be modeled in a way where within the medium to long term, they will be getting more. Imagine an illegal miner having about 5,000 poultry or chicken, raising about 5,000 chickens in his farm. Do you think he will wake up in the morning and go into mining? But if he has it about 100 or 150, that will not be motivating enough. Right? So when we are going to do it, we must do it well.
So would you say that the government has actually failed in making sure that gold revenue benefits everyone and not just some few people? Maybe even specifically, if we want to, we can situate it to people in the mining areas, Atakwa, the Obuasis and all of that. Would you say that the government has failed in making sure that the gold revenues or whatever we get from gold actually benefits those people?
Well, I wouldn't use the word failed. I would rather say that the desired result was not what we got. Don't forget that the revenue or the minerals in Ghana belongs to the people of Ghana, not to the people in a particular, area of the country. And so every government has their priorities in terms of development. So I wouldn't use the word failed, but I think that they should be paid much more particular attention to in terms of development, because those of us in Accra here, we may not feel the economic impact as those in the mining community. So a lot more job opportunities and development needs to go to the mining community so that they can benefit directly from the environmental impact of the mining activities. And so going forward, I think government should relook at the development in those areas and also job opportunities in those areas. But my main concern has to do with the impact of the degradation of the environment because of the illegal mining. And so if we intend to give them any alternative livelihood program or economic activity, it should be on a large scale. That will motivate them, that will retain them, and that will make sure they don't go back to destroy the environment.
What specific examples can you give?
Well, I just mentioned fish farming as one of them. Fish farming is one of the lucrative businesses in this country now. We can also look at the poultry farming. As I said, if you are going to give them the day-old chicks, you should be giving it to them in 10,000, 5,000. In that case, when they wake up in the morning, they have a lot of work to do, and they will not go back and then start degrading the environment. So these are some of the areas that I also know of a company that is into distribution of palm seedlings. To mine mining communities for the reclamation of the land and also for economic benefits in the medium to long term. So these are some of the areas that the government can look at in terms of getting them a decent and quality economic activity that will change them or prevent them from going back to destroy the environment.
Okay, well, exactly 33 minutes after 9. This is Business Breakfast on Z101.9 FM with me, Nitra B. Hammond. And this morning, we're talking about Ghana's gold ranking. We are number 6 in Africa, in the whole world, and number 1 in Africa. But are we really seeing the economic impact of these things? And that's exactly what we're trying to look at this morning. And my guest is Nelson Cudjoe Kuagbedzi. He is he's a head of finance at Merban Capital, and he's helping us have this conversation this morning. If you just tune in, you can actually send us a WhatsApp message, or you can send a voice note or a text on 0544321019, 0544321019, or you can call me on 030395661, 030395661, and then I give you the opportunity to share your thoughts with us this morning. We are on Facebook at ZFMGH and also on YouTube at Z Multimedia. Please visit those platforms and you can drop a comment and we'll address them accordingly. Well, Nelson, let's continue the conversation. I think that we touched on quite a number of things, from jobs to the economic impact generally and all of that. But one of the things you mentioned, and I said we're going to come back to, is the revenue management, really. And I want to know, from where you sit, do you think that current taxation and royalty systems are actually ensuring that we get a fair share of our gold wealth?
Well, I mean, if you look at the taxation of natural resources, every country developed their tax system regarding natural resources in a way that will be beneficial to that particular, country.
Yeah.
Ghana, we have adopted a mixed system. In some countries, it's basically royalties. In some countries, basically tax. In some countries, government is in full control of the exploitation of that particular, natural resource. But in Ghana, we have a blend. We take royalties. Government also take participation interest in the mining companies, and government also take, tax revenue. Taxation as a source of revenue in terms of the mining operation. So I would say we have adopted a mixed system of income generation as far as or a hybrid system in terms of getting revenue, and that has been one of the efficient ways that you can raise tax revenue from your natural resource exploitation. So I think, yes, equity participation by the government, royalties that the government takes, and tax revenue, the mix of it or the hybrid of it is the best way to go, and that is what we have been practicing for some time now, and it has yielded the desired result, even though there are more rooms for improvement in terms of the negotiation of the participation interest and even the tax revenue. Don't forget that when you develop a tax system that is too much a burden to the prospective investor, they may not come, and your resources will just remain underground.
True.
And so I think for Ghana, the hybrid system that we are using for both the mining sector and the petroleum sector is one of the best tax systems that you can get in the world.
I see, but do you think there's enough transparency and accountability in how our mining revenues are spent? I think you tried to talk about that a while ago.
Yes, as I said, for us to know exactly, the money goes into the consolidated fund, and the government uses the consolidated fund for development. Unlike the petroleum sector, where we have the Petroleum Revenue Management Act, I don't think we have such an act in the mining sector. Reason why we are calling for the government to relook at that and also come out with a mining revenue management act so that we know exactly how much we earn annually, what that money is used for, and there must also be a body that is responsible for, monitoring the usage of the mining revenues that we get, just as it happens in the petroleum sector, where we have the Public Interest and Accountability Forum.
Okay. One of the things you were trying to turn to a while ago, you mentioned that is very important to you, is the sustainability and environmental impact
Yes.
which for me is a big issue, especially today when we're talking about. Sustainability is a big thing today. Now, mining is big, it's very big, and it can have environmental and social consequences. How can we balance our economic gains with sustainability?
Well, I think we have laws that regulate every sector of the economy. When you go to the mining sector, we have so many laws and regulations that, you know, supposed to regulate the operations within that sector in order to balance the environmental impact and also sustainable, growth. I think going forward, what we have missed in the past has to do with enforcement of those laws, where people were not given license, but they were operating illegally, causing so much harm and damage to the environment. And so I think going forward, what we need to do is to make sure that we enforce the laws to the latter. In fact, Ghana is one of the countries where we have beautiful laws, but the implementation or the enforcement has always been the problem. If you don't have a license to operate or license to mine in this country, I don't think it would be prudent for you to just stand up and then go ahead and start mining. And so enforcement of our mining laws are key. Then after the enforcement, we need to also start prosecuting anybody at all who fails to comply with the laws of the land must also be dealt with according to the laws of the land. And that has been the challenge in the past. People were operating illegally in forest reserves, on water bodies, and that has caused so much damage to the environment. So enforcement and prosecution is the best way to go when we want to deal with this menace of environmental degradation as a result of illegal mining.
So why do you think the enforcement hasn't been very successful in the past?
Well, I think the enforcement has not been successful because of the politics that lies under the mining operation. And you see what happened in the past when the Interministerial Committee on Illegal Mining came out with a report. It suggested that there were some big political shots who were directly involved in the illegal mining. And when politicians are directly involved in it, then it becomes very difficult to enforce the law because they will tell you, hey, it was the money we got from the money that we used to finance your campaign. And it becomes a very difficult issue. And so that has been a challenge. I mean, politicians participating directly and indirectly in the mining activities makes the enforcement of the law very difficult. And so, I mean, going forward, in this country, there is a popular saying that nobody is above the law. If you are caught dealing in illegal mining, I think it should be dealt with according to the laws of the land. So enforcement is key, and politicians who are caught in it must also be dealt with. With that way, it will serve as a deterrent to other people who, don't forget that Ghanaians also brings in foreigners and front for them. And so they will go in for the license, but they will sell the license to foreigners who will use their license to be doing all kinds of things in this country. So I think that we should identify some of these loopholes, try to seal them, enforce the law, and prosecute people who are involved in it illegally.
Well, I mean, these are things that we continue to talk about, but it looks like there are problems that are not going away anytime soon. I don't know whether you think we're going to make some headway anytime soon.
Well, it takes the political will. I mean, recently it was alleged that an MP was involved in an issue with miners trying to protect them, and I learned he was invited by the CID and all that. It takes political will to do some of these things, especially when people who are directly involved in it are members of the ruling government. It becomes difficult. But I think this time around there is some leadership that we have in this country that has to deal with some of this, because President Mahama is somebody who I don't think will compromise when it comes to issues of illegal money. He has been very firm. I mean, just as the previous president. But I think this time around we are seeing some dynamics that we hope will at least reduce significantly the illegal money. So it takes political will. It takes leadership. I mean, the politicians will always think about the votes they will get, I mean, in the mining communities. And so when you take their source of livelihood from them, they will also vote against you. But it takes a strong political leader, a political person who wouldn't want to compromise with that. And we can see that kind of leadership in the current president. We just have to make sure that collectively we support the president in dealing, with these illegal mining issues.
And how can we do that? How can we support? How can the ordinary Ghanaian actually support this?
Well, I think
drive?
People who are directly in mining communities should be able to support. Our traditional authorities should be able to support. CSOs, civil society organizations, as we have them in the country, must also come on board to support. And I think that even at our campuses and schools, we should start forming this environmental or green F class to educate, sensitize, and conscientize some of the students about the impact of illegal mining. And once you're able to do it that way, we will be conscious about who does what to the environment. So I think it's a collective responsibility. We cannot say the president alone will fight illegal mining. It is practically impossible. We all need to come on board, CSOs, traditional leaders, citizens of this country, and political leadership must come together so that collectively we can deal with this issue of illegal mining.
Okay, we have just about 10 minutes to go. And I want us to look at the challenges and the opportunities that there are for us as a country. But just before that, I have some messages coming in. Let me just read some few of them. Okay, so this one is from Samuel from Dan Suman. He says that great conversation going on. Okay, well, thank you very much, Samuel, for sending your message. Let me look at this one. There are some that should be on our Facebook platform as well. Let me just check them and then we can continue. Okay. All right. So I don't think we have any on our social media, on our Facebook, but on WhatsApp, this is from Kobe. Is it Wensi or something? Right. He says that illegal mining is actually one of the things that we have to deal with as a country if we really want to do well. Well, yeah, that's true. That is exactly what we have been talking about. And this one is from Atibila. I hope I got that name right. It says that we have to get the mining. Okay, so it says that we have to get those in the mining areas to benefit from the gold. And that is how we'll be able to deal with illegal mining. I think Nelson, that's what you talked about a while ago.
Yes.
In terms of creating alternative livelihood for them and all of that. Well, that's true. So now let me turn back to you now. And mining areas often struggle, just like the person was saying, with poor roads, infrastructure, and all of that. So more specifically, apart from the alternative livelihood, do you think there are other things we can do to actually improve the lives of those people there in those communities?
Well, the alternative livelihood program is what they want, because when they wake up in the morning, they need to feed their family, they need to pay school fees, and they are engaging in illegal mining to do that. And once we are telling them to stop that because of the environmental impact, then it means you need to give them an alternative. But as I did indicate, over the years, the problem has to do with the sustainability of the alternative that we give them. And so once you're able to identify them, and you see, some of this thing has to do with engagement. You need to engage the communities, know exactly what they want, and then you can tailor your policies to suit what can help them. So you cannot just go there and impose a policy on them. I think engagement is necessary with all the stakeholders, especially the people who are directly engaged in the illegal mining. Once you engage them, you take their opinion, then the opinion can shape whatever policy that you intend to implement. In the past, there were so many, the policies that we implemented in the past, they have not yielded the right result. But I think going forward, we should be conscious and deliberate about the policies. As I did indicate, you're giving somebody 150-day-old chicks as an alternative livelihood program is not sustainable. You see?
Yeah.
And going forward, I think we need more education. Now, illegal mining has become a topical issue in Ghana now. We need more education especially in the mining communities. You see, the problem also goes beyond, the Ghanaian borders. There is a principle in the international environmental law we call the producer pay principle. Don't forget that some of the rivers that we are polluting, they have tributaries in other countries. And so once we are polluting them, we are polluting those tributaries in other countries, and they may take us on. And so we should be very careful how we go about all this. So education is needed. Apart from the alternative livelihood program, I think education is also needed to sensitize, conscientize, and let them know the impact of what they are doing, not only on this generation, but the generation yet unborn.
Right. But what are the biggest challenges that is actually, that are actually preventing our good wealth from directly improving the living standards for ordinary citizens?
Well, I think our major challenge has to do with the policies that we implement. The policies are what you call short-term policies. And if you are implementing policies short-term that are supposed to solve problems in the medium to long term, then there is what you call a mismatch. And once you encounter this mismatch, because you cannot use short-term solutions to solve medium to long-term problems. So I think the policies that governments will roll out must be tailored towards what exactly the people want. But you see, this whole conversation about value of gold we export, illegal mining, is a serious problem that I think most of us are taking very lightly, because we are not looking at the future impact of this problem.
Yeah.
Now, when you travel outside Accra, that is where you see the reality of what is happening. People are even mining under their houses. And so I think that we need to sit back and really look at all the policies that we have implemented in the past, what they've been able to churn out, analyze those results, and see what we can twist. You see, you cannot give a policy or alternative livelihood to somebody, as I did mention earlier, who earns 5,000 weekly. How are you going to do that?
Yeah.
How are you going to do that? So I think it is the failure of the policies, or the policy not yielding the needed result, that has brought us to where we are now. So going forward, I think our policies should be tailored towards what the people want, how that policy can resolve their problems so that they can stop going back to the environment, to go and destroy whatever gains that we have made. Because we started fighting these illegal mining people for more than 10 years now. The illegal mining, properly so-called, when it came out to the forefront, I think we've been dealing with it for more than a decade now, but it seems like we are not making any significant headway.
All right. Okay. Well, diversification of the benefits is a very, very crucial thing to talk about. How can we diversify the benefits of gold mining across sectors, such as agriculture? We can talk about manufacturing and services. How can we do that?
Please come again with the question.
No, so I'm asking that how can we diversify the benefits of our gold mining across sectors such as agric, manufacturing and services?
All right. I think this is a very simple thing to do. I kept on mentioning that the revenue that we earn from the gold mining goes to the consolidated fund.
Yeah.
And we just dip our hand into the consolidated fund, we pick it, and then we do whatever we want to do as a country. But I think that in order for the mining sector revenue to benefit other sectors like agric, industry, infrastructure services, we need to bring a legislation that will tell us how we are to use the mining sector revenue. Because if you don't have a rule that regulates how you use it, you will consider it to be the normal, revenue that you earn. I think this time around, the president is injecting a lot of the petroleum revenue windfall and taxes into the big push. So which means that we can trace a particular route from one town to another to the petroleum revenue. And so if we also want to do that, then it means that we need to dedicate parts of the revenue we get from our mining into other strategic sectors, for instance, agribusiness. Because going forward, once we exhaust our gold, it means that the gold will not be there to support again. And gold is not something that replenishes. Once you take it out from the soil, that ends it. And so we have to be strategic this time around. Start thinking about how we can actually, move away from the gold revenue to a more revenue that is sustainable. And I think that we can do that by channeling some of the gold revenue into agric or into manufacturing. In that way, we are actually charting a sustainable source of, foreign inflows into the country.
I see. All right. I think our time is up, and so we'll go. But it's been a very great conversation. You've touched on a lot of things. Maybe my final question to you, while I take your final thoughts as well, is that looking ahead, what key financial reforms or plans could actually help us turn our gold success into real development for ordinary citizens?
I think that we should encourage the operations of the gold board, because that is going to be the game changer. Because the gold board is in to sanitize the small scale mining sector. We should also try as much as possible to plug or seal any revenue leakage that emanates from the mining sector. I also think that there should be enforcement of our mining laws, and those who are found culpable should be dealt with. We also need to build more capacity for Ghanaian companies or Ghanaian personnel to venture into mining. And again, we must try as much as possible that we bring the Mining Income Revenue Management Act that would direct the flow of funds from that income to strategic sectors of the economy.
All right, Nelson, thank you so much. This has been a great conversation this morning. Thanks so much for making time, and thanks for sharing your thoughts with us. Really, really grateful to you.
You are welcome, my brother.
All right, please do enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you once again for having me.
All right. Okay, so that was Nelson Cudjoe Kuagbedzi. He is head of finance at Merban Capital, and he joined us this morning to discuss understanding Ghana's gold ranking and its economic significance and impact. I think it's been a great conversation. We've learned so much, and so thanks so much to him for making time to join us this morning, and thanks so much to you as well for making time to join us on this conversation, and thanks for keeping your messages coming through. We are really grateful. But that's how we wrap up today on the Business Breakfast on Z. I believe it's been a great policy economic conversation, and you've picked a thing or two, and I hope that our leaders are also listening to us and they picked a thing or two. Let's try and work with some of the suggestions that have come from Nelson this morning, and I hope that we'll be able to take benefits really from our gold exports, and we won't just be celebrating headlines like this one that says that we are number 6 largest producer in the world, and then number 1 in Africa. We won't just celebrate it, but it will actually translate to our economic lives, as a country, and also our individual lives. We should see the benefits thereof. Well, so that's how we wrap up today. Like I said, we're back again tomorrow on the Business Breakfast on Z at exactly 6:15 a.m. and I'll be here steering affairs. So please do well to join us tomorrow morning for more interesting conversations. Until then, please take very good care of yourself and make sure that when you think Ghana, you think Z. Up next.